Hey! How are you tonight, everyone? The sun is setting, as you can probably tell. I have lights. Hopefully it's going to be sufficient lighting for tonight's show. Hopefully. And what is tonight's show, you may ask yourself? Well, I'll tell you. Tonight's show is this. Yes, that's right. The long-awaited soundtrack show. We're doing it tonight. Now, I am just getting the invite link. Just getting the invite link. Rob will be joining us shortly. And I'm hoping, because I have lists from a couple different people here, I'm hoping that one of them will join me briefly. Give me a moment. Everything is slower when we're out here live on location. Everything is slower. Everything runs slower, so you just got to be a bit more patient. Bear with me. Bear with me. My God, everything runs slow up here. So I have one person that I'm hoping will be joining us live a bit later on. And I have Mr. Daniels that is going to be co-hosting the show with me tonight. That would be, if you can see this, that would be that Rob Daniels. Yes. Now, I will say this. I had planned on having a better wardrobe for tonight. I had planned on wearing my awesome new Visions and Sound hoodie because it's a little cold up here. But even though I was sure I packed my Visions and Sound hoodie, it is not here. All right, so who do we have with us tonight? We have, Candace. Jen, Candace is watching. We got Rob, and we have the always reliable Frank Toms. You know what? Just because I'm just going to do this now as a ad lib. Tonight, I'm going to dedicate this show to Frankie Toms. You know why? Because he's a solid guy. He is a solid guy, Frankie Toms. And he likes movies, and he likes soundtracks, and he likes video games. And those are the kind of things that Rob talks about on Visions and Sound. And we have my buddy, my special buddy, Deke. When I say special buddy, I don't mean that in a negative way. He's just such a good co-host, you know. And last week's show, which we had to bump Rob Daniels off last week. Sorry, Rob. But we had to bump Rob off last week because Derek Williamson, arranged to have Stormforce come on. And that was awesome. I hope everybody had a chance to watch Deke and I with Stormforce. We had Greg Fraser. We had Patrick Gagliardi. I hope I said that right. And we had Brian, his last name is escaping me. Might be Williamson as well. But we had Brian as well from Stormforce on last week. And it was fantastic. And I really appreciate that Rob didn't mind stepping down for just one night, you know. And we have Rob. Hold on, let me see if I can. Do you like that better or do you like this better? This way?
I like that better, actually.
Okay, and that'll work for when we put on. There we go. I don't know Jane's affliction, but I'm glad that he or she is watching.
Welcome.
And Hamilton, Brian Hamilton was the name of the drummer from Stormforce. I was just explaining that we had to bump you last week.
That's fine. No, I totally understand. I would bump me too.
It was just that Deke had set this up with Greg, and we unfortunately lost Jerry McGee from Brighton Rock that days after we arranged it. So we were just going to leave Greg alone, and I'd kind of assumed that he wasn't going to be doing it because who wants to talk about your old band when you've lost your bandmate? But it turns out that he did want to talk. And you know, you found this as well, that this is cathartic, talking live like this. It's cathartic when you got something that you just got to get off your chest.
Precisely.
Yeah. Oh, you've got a sweet hoodie.
Yes. I actually arrived just 2 days ago.
Nice.
Yeah. I was going to start the, had I been thinking, I would have gone Hello there.
That would have been brilliant. So you came on early, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
I don't want to start the list until like 8 o'clock, so I had some other stuff planned. Unpackagings, which I know you love. That's your favorite thing.
Oh, yes, unboxings are the internet's bread and butter.
But this is cool at least. Jen was at the mall today, and I asked her to pick this up for me.
Oh.
This is the new Metallica S&M 2, and I'm getting a little bit of echo on your side. I think.
How's that?
Sounds good. I think.
Actually, let me put on my headphones. That might actually remove it completely.
Okay, maybe I'll put on mine too if necessary. I think this gentleman here, Jane's Affliction, given the Eraserhead talk, I believe this may be the infamous Holland that is watching. With
Mike seems slowed down. Okay. Mike seems frozen. Everyone. Yes, Mike seems frozen. Oh, I'm good. I'm here by my... Welcome, I'm by myself. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me and that everything is good.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm still hearing that echo. I'm going to try my headphones.
Yeah, because I got my headphones on. I'm not actually hearing the echo that you are describing.
Maybe the listeners, the viewers can advise if they're hearing echo. Okay, I've got headphones now. I am hearing that echo. I'm not going to worry about it.
I'm not hearing it from my end, so...
Before my internet died, I was holding up my copy of S&M 2 by Metallica. Now, this does kind of tie in to the theme. The first S&M album was composed and conducted by Michael Kamen.
I seem to recall that.
And I'm not 100% sure when he passed, but it was quite some time ago now.
It actually was. It was probably about 10 years ago. Fantastic composer.
Nobody else is hearing any echo. It's just my problem. I'm just going to check my audio settings real quick. I was screwing around with my microphone.
Well, that's the last thing you should be doing.
Oh, that's my blue snowball. Okay, I should be okay. As long as it's not bothering anyone else.
The love between a man and his microphone. I'll leave it alone.
Nobody is hearing. Oh, Chris Sard hears it, but okay, we don't care about that. I was initially kind of skeptical about this with doing one without Michael Kamen,
Okay.
but I've heard a couple tracks on the radio, and it seems. I think I'm gonna dig it. I'm looking forward to hearing it. So that was the first thing, and the second thing was I didn't even know this existed. The Iron Maiden Power Slave action figure.
Oh,
Yeah, it's larger than a 6-inch. I'm going to say this is probably 7 or 8-inch scale. I didn't know these existed, and I am going to take this guy out of the box, I think.
oh no! Destroy its value.
Remember that Simpsons episode? You've removed it from its original packaging. The comic book guy.
Yes. Yes.
Aside from the unboxing, I just wanted to also just plug your show because you're a hardworking man and you're actually going live at midnight again.
Yes. But that time on that time it's going to be on the radio.
Yes, a little bit higher profile than this.
No, that'll be Jason Drury as well joining me for the 30th anniversary. I might as well
Yep, let's talk about it.
Hunt for Red October. Tonight we sail into history.
I am the last one. Wrong
And
movie.
And we'll sit off the coast of their largest city and we'll listen to their rock and roll.
The largest city.
And then we'll go to Havana, where the sun is warm and so is the comradeship.
We built this city. See, this is the Phil, a.k.a. Johnny Cheddar, saying there's echo on me. That's what I hear as well, and I don't know what I can do. Maybe I'll try unplugging my... Do you think unplugging my Blue Snowball will do anything?
I don't hear the echo, Mike. So,
just for the heck of it.
And silence falls across the land. And Mike is muted. I don't hear him. No.
Okay, there we go. No echo. I've got no echo.
Okay.
Tonight's awesome show that has had no technical difficulties at all is the top 11 soundtracks of all time, or as Uncle Meat has coined the term, the Nigel Tufnell Top 10.
Yep.
And of course, Nigel Tufnell, we all know, is a character played by Christopher Guest in the Rob Reiner film This Is Spinal Tap from, I believe, 1984.
Yes.
Nigel Tufnell infamously had the amplifiers that went up to 11. Why? Because it's one louder. So that's why Uncle Meat came up with this idea of doing Nigel Tufnell top 10s. It's 11 because it's one more.
And why wouldn't you want one more?
That's kind of interesting. Are you talking about Red October or This Is Spinal Tap? I'm assuming this is. I'm assuming that was for Red October. And Chris Sarr continues to complain. So we have tonight. You have done 2 lists.
I have done 2 lists because I felt that I couldn't combine scores and soundtracks into
right.
one. It would my brain would implode. So I had to divide it into 2 lists. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the soundtrack list, I think.
Oh, I know I will be.
As well as of course.
But my buddy's band is called Up to 11.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's cool.
So I was going to read a list right off the top by Dr. Catherine.
Yes.
I'm going to give her a few more minutes because while she does not want to appear, I thought it might be fun if we got to watch her dogs run around while we read her list. I think, speak of the devil. Oh my God, it's not dogs. It's actually Dr. Catherine. The real article. I thought, wow, this is a surprise. I was not expecting this.
There's also Daisy.
Because you're on camera, which I did not expect, did you want to read your own list?
Yeah, sure, I'll read it.
Well, why don't we start with you, and then we'll do our regular thing after you do all yours.
Okay.
And then we'll leave you to have your own evening to yourself.
Okay, sounds good.
Have you ever met Rob?
Yeah, we met at CKWR a couple years ago. I was on Coral's show.
Coral. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I think that was like 2 years ago.
Something like
This
that.
is Catherine's very first appearance on our show visually. She's done a phone interview once before.
That's right.
Doc is in the house.
All right, so you want me to just start at 11 and
yeah, let's
say a little
do
thing
it.
Okay.
Let's do it. And if anybody, Rob, if you want to interject with some commentary, just jump in.
No, I will let the doctor is in.
The doctor's in the house.
All right, so I'm going to start with number 11, and this is going to be the 80s version of the movie Clash of the Titans. Clash of the Titans is one of my absolute favorite movies. I'm a huge fan of the work of Ray Harryhausen, and I have this soundtrack on vinyl, and I find myself listening to it more often than most of my other soundtracks. Favorite part of the soundtrack would be the scene with Medusa when Medusa appears, and it's super subdued. It's just there's hardly any music at all, and it's just characterized by the super low piano notes, and that's it. And I love it, and it's my favorite moment. With that's a good question. I should know that, and
Rob?
I don't.
One moment, I think it's Leonard Rosenman. But
That sounds right.
Let me have a quick look here, because I am not 100. I have
Clash of the Titans.
I have the original on CD.
Ah. Of course, it takes me to the 2010 film immediately.
Yeah, which is garbage.
Yes. Even with the Ramin Javadi score, which I actually kind of like.
Jane's Affliction has an opinion here, and I'm not 100% sure if this is on any list yet. Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, Lawrence Rosenthal.
Lawrence Rosenthal. Okay. Cool. All right,
yeah.
Number 10.
Number 10 is a totally different type of soundtrack, and it's The Lost Boys. So this is another 80s classic, maybe a campy classic, but it has some really awesome, maybe sometimes cheesy tunes, but some really awesome music on there. Worth watching the film just for the soundtrack.
Cool. Sister.
Number 9, I have Superman the movie from 1978. So obviously, John Williams appears a couple times, but I didn't want to put him on the list too much. But if I'm being honest,
I had the same problem.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorite John Williams soundtracks is Superman the movie. I think it's a fantastic soundtrack, and that's another one I have on LP and can just listen to it over and over and over. And favorite moment would probably be the music at the beginning when they're sentencing General Zod.
Guilty.
Yeah,
Guilty.
Really.
Can you comment on what Frank is saying here about the owl in the remake? Do you know anything about the owl?
Yeah,
I saw the new Clash of the Titans once, and I think I've forgotten everything about it. So
okay.
They make a reference. They were going through like a box of stuff, and they pull out this mechanical owl, which actually makes an appearance in the original.
Oh, come on. That's crap.
And then they just kind of put it back and say nothing more about it. At least
disrespectful.
Yeah, kind of.
I think.
Yeah. Boobo the owl.
Yeah. No, I don't care if that was just an artificial thing that was made up for the movie. I don't care. It was awesome.
Yep.
Even though it was just an R2-D2.
Basically, yes. Yep. Okay, moving on to number 8. I felt that there's so many good soundtracks attached to the Star Trek franchise, and I only wanted to include one of them. So I went with the one that I personally like the best because I think it's a little bit different from the others. It's a little unique, and that's Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
A forgotten one, largely.
Yeah. And a number of years ago, I went to see the KW Symphony, did a presentation of the music from Star Trek, and a couple of the actors were there as well, which I got to meet, which was cool.
John Delancey?
Is that the guy that plays Q?
Yeah, John Delancey.
Yeah, him. And Robert Picardo, I think, was the other one.
Yeah,
so those two. And I remember when they just skipped over Star Trek V entirely. And when they went to Star Trek VI, I remember hearing the beginning, and they made a comment about it being, kind of one of the lesser known underdog soundtracks. And it's just amazing, especially the very beginning of the film. Some really, really awesome music there. Number 7, this is another one that doesn't necessarily fit with the others, but is also another great soundtrack I have on vinyl, which is Trainspotting, the movie. Some really good tracks on there. Obviously, Lust for Life is kind of the big one, but there's some pretty awesome ones. And I've got the deluxe 4-record set of that, so it's got even more awesome stuff. Yeah, and the record is orange.
The complete score or something like that? What is the 4 records?
I think it's just more music that was in the movie but wasn't on the original soundtrack.
You know what? You're bringing back a memory. when they put out the Train Spotting soundtrack, they also put out a Train Spotting soundtrack part 2. So it might be both combined.
It's probably 1 and 2. Yep. Okay. Number 6, Edward Scissorhands.
Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Danny Elfman, yeah. While I do think that Danny Elfman has a tendency of kind of sounding the same a lot of the time, or he has a very distinct style, I think Edward Scissorhands is his masterpiece. It's just an incredible soundtrack.
Do you remember on Family Guy, they spoofed that kind of Danny Elfman characteristic when they killed John Williams and said, now the soundtrack's going to be completed by Danny Elfman, and it was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yes. Okay, so number 5, because I'm a huge fan of super weird contemporary music, The Shining. And it's got a pretty out there soundtrack. Some actually classic contemporary music composers appear on that soundtrack, so I wanted it to be on my list. Number 4, more of a recent film. Actually, I guess it's not that recent anymore, but the movie There Will Be Blood. The Daniel Day film.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's really, really great music. I don't know if the entire soundtrack is, but at least part of it is composed by Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead. Yeah, some really cool stuff. And fun tidbit is the music series I direct, Numis. We actually got the Laurier Orchestra to perform one of the pieces from that soundtrack a few years ago. So it was like a huge string orchestra. They had to bring in extra players, and it was incredible. It was amazing.
That is cool.
Okay, so we're in the top 3 now. So number 3 would be the 1968 version of Planet of the Apes.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm mad about this one.
This one's pretty contemporary sounding as well, and it's one of those soundtracks that the first time I saw the movie, I think the soundtrack spoke to me more than anything else in the film, and kind of sparked an interest in me in new music and weird sounds.
The percussion, incredible.
Yeah,
Music, great experimenter. Did some wonderful work on that particular score.
One of my biggest regrets is selling that CD. I had the remastered soundtrack and I sold it, and it was just a stupid, paring down the collection. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. But anyway, I'll get it back.
All right, so into the top 2. Number 2 is the soundtrack to my favorite movie of all time, which is The Empire Strikes Back. And I think probably if I had to rank the best soundtracks of John Williams or the Star Wars films, I would put Empire Strikes Back at the top. It's got it's a little more conventional than maybe some of my other recent picks, but just so many classic pieces on there, and so many classic themes as well for the different characters and characters in the film. So
something's crazy is happening with the audio. Is my voice clear?
Yep.
Your voice was really distorted for a second. You sounded like not Vader, but maybe an Imperial Death Trooper. But you're back now, I think.
Oh, I'd rather have the Death Trooper voice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally, my number 1 pick is 2001: A Space Odyssey. One that, again, seeing this film for the first time, I think it was the music that affected me more than anything else. And again, also sparked a love and an interest in super weird sounds, contemporary music. There's so many amazing composers on there, Ligeti being one of the greatest ones on that soundtrack. And so even though I admit I struggled with this pick because I hesitated to put it number 1, because even though the music I think fits the movie perfectly, the music was not written for the movie. These were all pre-existing pieces. And that for that reason, I almost didn't put it number 1 because it kind of seemed a little bit unfair. But regardless, I changed my mind and I still put it number 1.
Might seem unfair, but any of those other movies could have done the same thing and taken classical music pieces, but it was Kubrick who executed the idea.
Yeah.
Now, have you heard the original Alex North score?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay. That's a treat, actually.
Can you buy that on CD?
You can. It was released couple of years ago. You might only be able to find it on Screen Archives Entertainment. It was released on Entrada, if I'm not mistaken. And there's actually you might have an easier time trying to find the Varese Sarabande version, which was conducted by Jerry Goldsmith. So
Okay.
that was a re-recording of some of Alex North's notes. So there are two that you could find.
Okay.
But if you can't find it, I might be able to send you a copy.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Maybe.
James has a good point here, and I wanted to mention something that at one point I was considering doing a strictly just John Williams show, which we still could do at some point, but I was even considering just doing just Star Wars scores, all 11 Star Wars scores, and putting them in order. But that's an idea for the future.
Yes. Now,
So, Catherine, thank you so much for appearing. I will say that I had your list already, and it pissed me off because you took a number of soundtracks that I wanted, and I didn't want too much repeat. But the problem is that when two siblings grow up together, they're naturally watching the same movies together. And of all these movies, there's only one I haven't seen, and I would say maybe 7 or 8 of these easily could have been on my list.
precisely.
Cool.
You know, I could very easily make a top 50 list with exactly what you've just put on there, and they would fall very easily. Like I was just thinking, I could have written this list 3 times over, and it would have been a different list every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
James, I don't have a way of really reading your list right now. I don't have any way of doing that. Maybe in a future show. And Mom has a question.
The beer is good. It is a Collective Arts Jam Up the Mash with the super cool artwork on the can.
Rob does something on his show called the Drink Sponsor. So we'll all do the Drink Sponsor right now. You've got your crazy can. I have my 7-Up, which I believe is what Rob had on Wednesday.
I had 7-Up on Wednesday, but tonight with the misunderstood Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper is the best pop, in my opinion.
Agree.
Deke says, "Great job, Catherine. You upstaged the headliners."
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Deke, for the vote of confidence, buddy. Thank you so much. And yeah, it would be kind of a pain in the ass for me to read a list in comments. But thank you, Catherine. I will let you get to your evening, which probably consists of probably schoolwork, considering that school has started.
Yep.
All
Fun
right.
times.
All right. Well, good luck, and thanks a lot for showing up. I can't believe I feel so lucky that you did. So thank you so much for showing up.
All right, no problem. See you guys.
Have a good night. Ciao.
Wow.
And amazingly enough, Deke's real name is Derek. Yes. And my mom loves the artwork on the beer. So that takes care of Dr. Catherine.
Great.
You have a list. I have a list. And also Aaron, Mr. Books, put together a list, and he has some comments on his. So I figured we might as well do the next 3 lists, yours, mine, and Aaron's in rounds, like we normally do.
Sounds good.
Now, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't put mine in any order. I struggled. I struggled a lot. Probably more so than with any other list we've done. I wanted to do 2 lists like you did, and I failed. And I screwed the pooch, is what I'm saying on my list. So instead of reading them in any specific order, I'll just read them in the order that they're written down.
Sounds good.
How about I start with Aaron, and then we go to you.
All right.
So Aaron had some specific requirements for his list. Number 1, it has to be in his collection. It has to be something that he's heard and loved. I had the same qualifier, and he did 5 scores and 5 soundtracks for a total of 10. So he kind of missed the point of the Nigel Tufnell top 10, but that's fine. I will. I guess I'll start with his scores. And because he's doing 5 and 5, his number 5 score is Star Wars: A New Hope.
Cool.
Obviously, John Williams.
Obviously.
The interesting thing is that Catherine picked The Empire Strikes Back, and I know what I picked. So this might be the only appearance of A New Hope. I guess we'll see. It certainly changed things, I think, as far as the landscape goes for that kind of movie.
Yes. Well, considering the last major science fiction before Star Wars was Logan's Run, and if you listen between the difference between the two soundtracks, John Williams brought back the scoring two films. Am I loud enough? I somebody said
Candace was saying you're a bit quiet, but I can hear you fine.
Okay, so I will.
Yep, it might be that I'm loud.
Speak up a little bit.
I am going to put this comment up here. I'm glad Catherine is gone, because I really hate when people make comments like this about my sister. And my mother is watching, Eric, and you know that. And you know that. I guess I'm next.
Yes.
Planet of the Apes.
Cool.
I used to own it, so that's why it qualified.
Right.
Rob is low, says Chris. Catherine already said enough about Planet of the Apes, so I don't really need to add to what she said. But for me, it's the percussion.
Yes.
You know, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly. There are some. I mean, when Jerry Goldsmith's always been an innovator, and in Planet of the Apes scores, he was using stuff like just these different percussion drums. He was using mixing bowls as well.
No.
Percussion stuff. Oh yeah, it was really bizarre stuff. I have some great liner notes about the Planet of the Apes score, and yeah, he was very much. That was a very experimental score for that time, and for me, oftentimes, whenever I see that film, it's often what's not heard. There are huge spaces in that film where there's no music, but when the music is in, it's important, and it hits the right tone in the moment. And
I agree with James, and I agree with Rob. Interesting that you mentioned that thing about the spaces between the score. Because the last one I'm going to read has that quality too.
Cool. All right, I guess it's me now. Do I do the lists?
Yeah. Do number 11 and then do number 11.
Okay, Gimli, I need to put you on the floor for a second because we're okay. Down you go. All right, starting at number 11 on the Nigel Tufnell top 11 in this case. I'm going to start with soundtracks as opposed to scores.
Okay.
And at number 11, it's going to be show and tell tonight.
Oh, awesome.
Trick or Treat.
Holden reviewed this for me on my site.
By Fastway. I was absolutely enthralled when I saw this movie, but also the fact that that there were some really good songs off of this particular soundtrack. And for me, there's Trick or Treat, Stand Up, Get Tough. It's basically a Fastway album, but at the same time, it's a really good soundtrack in and of itself. And it's, again, oftentimes a single group. It's one of those. The score actually was done by a man named J. Peter Robinson, but people remember the Fastway score or Fastway music before they'll remember his score.
You just triggered a memory for me. I can remember in high school you asking us if we'd ever heard of Fastway.
Yeah, because I used to have it on tape too. I had it on tape and used to play it all the time.
Deke approves.
I'm glad.
I guess the only comment that I have is that when you were already into the Trick or Treat soundtrack, I had only ever really heard one Fastway song called All Fired Up, and I think it had a completely different singer. And I think to date that might still be the only Fastway I've ever heard, because I have not heard that soundtrack and I have not seen that movie.
Because the movie is, well, it's got Ozzy and it's got Gene Simmons in it. Gene Simmons plays a radio DJ, I believe. And,
yeah, and Ozzy's a preacher, I think.
Yeah, Ozzy plays a preacher. It's a very interesting film. One I haven't seen for a while, but check it out because it's it's almost the season.
Yeah, it is
that kind of for that kind of music. So go for it.
Right. Eric has a comment here about the namesake of the series, Nigel Tufnell, and all I will say is foreshadowing.
Okay. All right. Number 11 on the score side is Toto.
Oh, that's not the Lynch. That's the TV series.
This is the Lynch.
Oh, that is the Lynch. Okay. The Toto.
This actually I found this at Now and Then Books in Kitchener.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of their last one of the last things I ever bought there. But there was a Polydor release, and then there was PEG, which is this release here. It's the most complete that has been released. But keep your Polydor because there's actually a theme on there that's not on this one.
Okay.
But yeah, with especially with the 2020 Dune coming out very, very shortly. But this score is amazing considering the apparently the trials they went through just to get this made. And yeah. I think it's a really cool score. So that's mine.
Eric Litwiller approves of your Now and Then. It's funny you should mention this because this subject of Dune came up earlier on one of the rock sites that I follow on Facebook, and somebody was talking about how that Toto soundtrack is so amazing. And I commented that Jodorowsky was looking at Pink Floyd for his version of Dune, and what would have that sounded like?
That would have been amazing.
And my favorite scene in all of Jodorowsky's Dune is the scene where he's reenacting giving Pink Floyd shit for eating hamburgers. It's like, you are brilliant musicians and you're eating hamburgers? Hamburgers? Like the mind of an artist.
Yeah.
To be offended by eating something as pedestrian as hamburgers, it boggles my mind. So Aaron is next, and now I realize that he put honorable mentions on here that I could have read as his number 11. So I'm going to read it now. Howard Shore, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Of course.
He says, so sweeping and beautiful, just as epic as the film. In fact, I would argue you couldn't have one without the other. Yeah, that's a good statement.
Agreed.
That's a good one, Aaron. My number 10, Swingers.
Oh, cool.
It got shuffled into the list at the last minute because I darn well love that soundtrack. That's another movie where they did a part 1 and a part 2 to the soundtrack, but I only own part 1. And it's got Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. It's got George Jones. It's got Dean Martin. It's got heart. It has so much good stuff on that soundtrack. I can't say enough good stuff about it. And the movie is fantastic and possibly still to this date, Jon Favreau's greatest performance. Swingers.
Okay.
James agrees with your David Lynch pick.
Cool.
And Phil, I didn't know this. They used Floyd in the 2020 trailer?
Yeah, there was supposed that I believe they used a song, an excerpt from a song.
I didn't know this.
I was unaware of this until I can't remember who mentioned it to me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for the info, Phil. Okay, Rob. So I guess we're back to you with soundtracks or scores. I can't remember.
I've done my 11 score, so
okay.
It's the top, and I guess it's you again.
No, because I just did Swingers.
Okay, so then I guess it's back to me.
Yeah, back to you.
All right, so for soundtrack in this case, maybe a bit broad, but X-Files. Songs in the Key of X.
I remember that. That had a Noel Gallagher track on it.
It did. It has several really awesome tracks, including like Sheryl Crow, Foo Fighters, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
That Foo Fighters track, I think, might still be unavailable anywhere else.
Okay. Yeah, that's this for me. I remember just being absolutely enthralled by, first of all, well, Mark Snow's music of the X-Files in and of itself is amazing, but all the songs that appeared in the show as well, and that sort of thing. I mean, it actually got me into Screaming Jay Hawkins, believe it or not.
Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Screaming Jay Hawkins. He does a track on here called Frenzy, and I just love it. It is from the episode Humbug, where they talk to the circus performers.
Yeah, I remember that.
Town of circus performers. An amazing episode from an awesome show. At least
Very cool. Very cool.
All right, next soundtrack, number 10. Hang on just a second. I want to confirm that I got the right one. Yes, number 10. I have to reach down for, because I gave
Vinyl.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, one of my criteria as well is that I had to own the soundtrack in a physical form, so I couldn't have it digitally. I wanted to make sure that was done in a because that way, then, like you like to own stuff in the physical form.
And most of our viewers are like that.
Yeah. So this I found again at Now and Then Books.
Again,
For $9. Alien.
$9.
Alien. Yeah, and I was, and this was like back in, it had to have been the early to mid 80s that I found this.
Wow.
Now, since then, I do have a couple of re-releases. There's a Silva America release. There was an Entrada release that does pretty much almost the whole thing, but this always stays close in my heart when I think of Alien from '79.
Love the classic art in the front too.
It's a wonderful album, and still looks and sounds really good. And if I still had a record player, still had a turntable, I'd be playing a lot more stuff from on vinyl.
That's cool.
So that's number 10.
So it looks like every single person watching, except for us, knew that it was Eclipse by Pink Floyd. But according to Eric, it's a cover version of Eclipse. That's cool. I mean, sorry about the bugs here. That's cool that they did a Floyd thing. That's definitely a nod to Jodorowsky. I'm next. Or sorry, Aaron's next. Numbering is, he's got the two lists. Numbering's irrelevant. I don't know this one. Tan Dunn, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Okay, yeah.
with Yo-Yo Ma on cello. He says a damn near perfect score, which also ties perfectly to the film. Beautiful.
Agreed. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Although when I saw the movie back when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is odd. When I saw Chow Yun-Fat do this, and then he starts to fly up, I thought that was kind of goofy.
Yeah. Me too.
At the, just, I don't know. Maybe it's just it's a cultural thing. I think maybe, I don't know, but I haven't seen it since.
Me too.
The music is great, I have to admit.
Yeah. It's too bad Dr. Catherine isn't on anymore, because I bet you she would have picked that one if she had more space. She's a huge fan, and I just don't get that movie, The Flying. James is talking about Ry Cooder's score for Paris, Texas. I've never. Apparently, you're familiar with this.
Yeah, Ry Cooder had a really good run in, I would say, probably the mid to late 80s. Stuff like Trespass, Crossroads, Paris, Texas. He did the score to a John Travolta film where he basically plays George Bush, it was I can't remember the name of the score off the top of my head, but yeah, he was quite big during that time. So yeah.
Eric Litwiller is shocked that I called him Eric, but it's because I'm reading off of a screen. Unless I meant Eric Woods. No, I was referring to Litwiller, but Woods is watching.
Yes.
Hello, Eric. So me. Okay, here's one I really love, and I hope you've seen the film. Still Crazy, starring Bill Nighy, Billy Connolly, Jimmy Nail. It's a wonderful film. It's about a rock band, a washed-up rock band that decides to reunite. And the soundtrack to Still Crazy has to be on my list. It had so many good songs. Some of them written by Mick Jones of Foreigner. Bill Nighy singing, Jimmy Nail singing. Jimmy Nail sang two great songs, The Flame Still Burns, which is a ballad, and Bird on a Wire. Bill Nighy sang a bunch of really good rock tunes. And he's basically playing like the flamboyant, washed-up rock star. And everybody knows he's washed up except for him. It's a wonderful film, and I hope that people see it. Scott Peddle has just joined. No mention of this one yet. We'll see. And apparently I got to see Paris, Texas, because Harry Dean Stanton is in it, and everybody likes Harry Dean Stanton. So I'm good with that. So that wraps up me and Aaron, and we're back to you.
Back to me. All right.
I'm going to zip up my coat because it's getting cold.
Soundtrack here in this case should be no surprise as my number 9, heavy metal.
Yeah.
I remember getting this on tape, and as to how rare it was a $24 tape.
It went out of print for a while.
It did.
But it was also, I think, classified as a double length.
Yes, double length. So
which was BS, of course, because it's however many extra feet of tape.
No, for me, this introduced me to the likes of Black Sabbath, the Mob Rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's a whole bunch of the Sammy Hagar's heavy metal, Devo's Working in the Coal Mine, Blue Oyster Cult's veteran
of the Psychic Wars. Cheap Trick, Reach Out.
Yep, Journey. Well, Journey's Open Arms was kind of a just a kind of, but there was stuff on here I had not heard before, and there's some really good stuff on here. I really enjoyed it. Fantastic album. I'm so glad that I ended up picking it up on CD as well as having it on the original tape.
Incidentally, the Sammy Hagar and Sabbath tunes, they're both different from the album versions of those songs. Sabbath eventually released that version of Mob Rules on the deluxe Mob Rules.
Okay, cool.
It was a bonus track.
Right. Okay,
cool.
Number 9 score. I could have chosen any Batman score, but there is one that has stuck with me through the entire time, and I consider it one of the best Batman movies out there, and this is Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, interesting.
Shirley Walker. We lost Shirley in 2006, but her music, for me, it speaks volumes. This takes what Danny Elfman did and makes it just that much better. She worked on the television series. She worked on Batman Beyond. I think she worked a little bit on Justice League as well. She was a tour de force, and I wish she was still with us because she would have done an awesome job on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is, like I said, I could have chosen any of Elfman's or any of Zimmer's scores to Batman, but Shirley Walker's is the one that sticks with me the most.
Janes says that Shirley also conducted the Elfman Batman scores.
She did as well. Yep, she did a lot of conducting, including the original Critters score as well. So yeah, she was, I believe she was a keyboard programmer on Apocalypse Now.
No.
So yeah, that she goes back that far.
Cool. I hope this makes James happy because he said earlier today that he hopes that Batman Returns would be on a list. I hope this satisfies his need for Batman. Back to Aaron. Another one that I am unfamiliar with, but I think Dr. Catherine would approve. Jan Tiersen, Amelie.
Yes.
He says, we love the film. 3 loves. I held up 2 fingers when I said that. We love the film, and the music is so much a part of the complete picture. It's infectious, so gorgeous. So that's cool. I like that.
I actually do not own Amelie, but I have heard bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Just last week, somebody was telling me to see Amelie. I guess I got it. Okay, this next one, my number 8, I guess. I'm sure you know this one.
Right.
The Folksmen, Mitch and Mickey, the new Main Street Singers. Yes, A Mighty Wind, directed by Christopher Guest.
Awesome.
If I'm not mistaken, Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara performed A Kiss at the End of the Rainbow on the Academy Awards.
Did indeed. I remember watching it specifically for that, because I don't watch the Oscars much anymore, except for categories and to find out who got Best Picture.
Yeah. I will honestly say that A Kiss at the End of the Rainbow gives me chills. And in the movie, there's that amazing scene where they actually pause and kiss, because there was that tension between them. They were a couple that had split. And that moment in the movie was just captured so perfectly. I can't find words.
It felt more like a real documentary than just a mockumentary.
Aside from a couple kind of goofy Eugene Levy moments, yeah, it did. That's actually one thing I really like about it. When I first saw it, I really was able to put myself into it and believe it. And I've only had that experience with 2 movies, A Mighty Wind and Fubar.
Yes.
It's the only time I've really been able to sink into it and believe it. Eric points out that it should be higher, but I mentioned earlier, and Eric didn't hear this, I don't think, that I shit the bed and I didn't put mine in any real order. So that's me and Aaron. That brings us back to you.
Back to me. All right. This might be a bit of cheating, but I went with it anyway. This is a version of, but not the complete score to, because it does have songs on it. This is the Terminator. So now the reason why I added this to the list is it has 5 songs on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 songs that are, I could not get out of my head when I saw the movie. To the point where I actually did a bit of research, and apparently I think it's the Tawny Kane songs on here. Does anybody out there remember a song called "Shut Up, You Face"?
Yeah, by Joel Dolce.
Joel Dolce. He is a writer on a couple of the songs that are on this album.
Huh, no kidding.
I was, and I think he produced 1 or 2 of them. I can't remember for sure, but for me to read that and to hear that was, it was pretty funny. So yeah, this to me, like I said, a little bit of a cheat because it does have a lot of Brad Fiedel's score on it. But the 5 songs that are on here, integral to the movie and just will not leave my head when I listen to them.
Chris Sarr had the 45 of "Shut Up, Your Face."
I did as well. It's around here somewhere.
Oh, cool. And Jane's is disappointed we haven't seen Ennio Morricone yet. But, it's still early. I don't know. We'll see, buddy. We'll see. Rob,
yes.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Sure.
I need a coffee.
All right. No
Oh,
problem.
my God. I zipped my headphones into my sweater.
I will simply entertain.
I zipped my headphones into my sweater.
Actually, that's more entertaining than anything I would do. So, tonight's drink sponsor, for those that do care, is Dr. Pepper on that side of things.
Wouldn't mind. Yeah.
By the way, just to mention the Ennio Morricone, if you have not already, I will give me 1 second here.
I've placed my order for the coffee. Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to do this quickly. This is just a little side note. This is the Quartet Records version of Ennio Morricone is the thing. If you don't have it, pick it up. It's awesome.
Cool.
Right, so just a little plug there.
Cool.
All right, my number, I believe it's number 8 at this point.
Yeah.
8. All right. Should come as no shock because I was a huge fan of the movie, despite what people thought about it. I thought the score was awesome. We're talking Tron Legacy.
I didn't mind it. Didn't mind it.
I loved this score, and I think Eric Woods will agree with me. This, in my opinion, is a bit of a game changer because of just how good it was at recapturing the Wendy Carlos feeling of the first film while keeping it modern and fresh. There are some awesome themes on here. There is a wonderful track called Adagio for Tron, which has this lovely cello piece in it. And you do not expect that from an electronic score by Daft Punk, but there you go. And it's there, and it is amazing.
Were they in the film?
Yes, they were. They
Okay.
in the scene where it's
You're so healthy, sweetie. We have another one too.
Zeus is they're taking him
You
to
want me to get the other one?
to meet up with Daft Punk. He says, "Well, let's pick up the music here." And yeah, so Daft Punk actually appears in their garb in the movie.
The one thing that reminds me of is when Ministry showed up in their garb in AI
Yes,
at the Flesh Fair, I believe. That was cool.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Has it been? Have you seen that movie in any recent time?
I saw it in the theater, and I haven't seen it since.
Oh, okay. Obviously, you're not as big a fan of it as I am. I'm going to go with Aaron.
Okay.
I'm glad he picked this one. John Williams, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Little unexpected. He says, I bought this on import for silly money back in the day at the Big Sam the Record Man in Toronto, because for the entirety of the film, I knew I had to have a CD of the music. It's pure classic and so gorgeous at every moment. It soars. Can't argue.
I agree with you there.
Yeah. My next one, I guess we're in number 7 now, but mine are not in order. Oh, Eric's making fun of me here. I'm cold, dude. This one went on and off my list a few times because I love the soundtrack, but not the entire soundtrack.
Right.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Okay.
There's a couple things on it that I'm not 100% sold on. Some of the chanting wasn't really my style, and I'm not 100% sure that I need 4 versions of Man of Constant Sorrow. But I mean, I do love that soundtrack. I do love Man of Constant Sorrow. I love Highway in the Hedges. I love Down to the River to Pray. I love the instrumentals. I love the blues stuff. And I love the movie.
The movie is awesome. The acapella "Oh Death" has always been just Richard Stanley, I think is the guy's name. It just gives me chills every time I hear it.
That is a very chilling song. I remember playing it in the record store because we'd have it on shuffle, and you just have to hit skip because it's not record store music.
It's not.
It was a difficult soundtrack to play in the record store for that reason. And Eric Litwiller agrees with me that "Oh Brother" is fantastic, but he's going to really make fun of me now because here comes coffee service, and I didn't even ask for a second blanket, but there's a second blanket. So that's me. We're back to you.
Back to me again. All right. Well, I saw this movie in the theater on a B movie bingo night at the Apollo, and fell in love with it. So much so that I think a few weeks after I saw the movie, I had to do a Killer Cars and Violent Vehicles episode of the Visions in Sound. So I went with, and I mean, this is no surprise, Maximum.
Oh yes,
Maximum Overdrive. Now it does actually say on the soundtrack, yeah, Maximum Overdrive, but
Yep.
it's originally the Who Made Who AC/DC album.
Totally counts. Totally counts.
Yeah, and it's. I was not much into AC/DC, but this kind of won me over to at least enjoy them in maximum overdrive.
And you know what's interesting, Rob? You may know this. I'm sure others do. There's a lot of music in that movie, that AC/DC music in that movie, that is not on the CD, and it's available on bootleg and whatnot, but not in any kind of really decent audio format. But AC/DC at some point are going to cease functioning as an entity, and then I hope Angus releases all of this stuff.
Yes.
Fantastic pick. One thing I like about Who Made Who is that it can make lists for greatest hits albums too.
Exactly.
And regarding Emilio Estevez, Janes is a Repo Man fan.
Cool.
For soundtracks, that is. He says original soundtrack. Okay, next.
Score.
Scores.
Hang on. Let me have a quick look here at my list.
That's good.
All right. Now, a lot of people are going to go, huh? But a video game soundtrack has made the list. And,
Good.
And so in this case, it is one of my favorite of all time. It completely hit me out of nowhere. I was able to find the physical CD at HMV in Toronto. And when I could go down to Toronto for the day, do Tower Records, Sam the Record Man, HMV, and Sunrise Records, when you could do that, and gas wasn't just like insane. In any case, this is the score to the Michael Land score to the video game The Dig, and this for me is an amazing score. From a simple listen, you can listen to it from the very beginning. It is a lovely, beautiful, relaxing score. In fact, if I was to tell my phone good night, it would start to play. It would turn off the lights, and it would start to play this particular soundtrack. Oh, Mike's gone away. Has Mike gone away? Oh, he's still there. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. In any case, this I will continue to talk about this. This is some really good stuff. If you have not had a chance to, welcome back, Mike.
Hey.
This is a brilliant score to a brilliant video game that has the voice of Robert Patrick as the main character in the film. Yes, Robert Patrick, the
Terminator guy,
1000 from Terminator 2, and so yeah, that's for me amazing score. I love it. I'm glad I have a physical copy of it, and yeah, it for me it's absolutely wonderful. And Eric, I agree with you. The Dig rules.
And Janes is also a fan.
Glad, Jane. That's awesome.
I'm really happy that StreamYard keeps going even when my internet dies. This is so much better than Facebook Live, because then I would have to start everything all over.
Exactly.
Aaron, keep in mind he split his list into two, so now we're at his number one score. You will be happy, Janes. It's Danny Elfman with Batman. He said, yes, Prince did the soundtrack, but Elfman's evocative score is equally, if not more so, impressive to me, and it perfectly captures the feel of that movie.
Exactly. Elfman's score is iconic. Originally he was not supposed to do the score. Originally it was supposed to be Prince, and Michael Jackson was supposed to provide the songs, or some weird combination that way. And Tim Burton basically insisted that he brings in Elfman. He based his score. I remember seeing a documentary or some kind of like behind the scenes where he actually based his score on clips he gleaned from Zorro, the black and white Zorro film.
No kidding.
And so he was able to base his score for Batman. And of course, if you are aware of the history of Batman, one of the films that they all it's not just Deflator Mouse, or it's not just Robin Hood. No, it's there. The one of the films is The Mark of Zorro, I believe. It's one of the films that the Waynes come out of, and that's what sets off the whole Batman thing, we'll say.
Is that the Mark of Zorro? Is that Errol Flynn?
I think it's Errol Flynn. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Frankie Toms mentions this video game, Skyrim.
That would have made the list, but it would have been much lower down. While the score is awesome, well, let me put it to you this way. I had a little run-in with Pleomax. They pissed me off. I was working on a project that was to use the music in a in a project that was not for profit, and was simply just I talked to the composer. I was in talks with the publishing, and it was Pleomax, the actual game company, that shut me down, or ZMax.
Oh.
So they're like number 12, number 13. Don't get me wrong, love the score. Jeremy Sewell did an awesome job, and he deserves all the credit he gets for it. He even sent me a copy. I did a complete show on it. So it's an awesome score. Don't get me wrong, love Skyrim.
Cool. James has a comment here. The most accurate thing that was ever said about this Batman soundtrack was the scene from Shaun of the Dead when Simon Pegg won't let Frost throw Purple Rain, or Sign of the Times, but does let him throw Batman. And Eric is correcting us on Mark of Zorro and correcting Aaron on some semantics. Which brings us to me. The first repeat with Dr. Catherine, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
I wrote down particularly that I loved the Strauss and Ligeti. We both were really, really affected by Ligeti. But it's interesting to me that what she said earlier, that it was the soundtrack that jumped out at her more than the film when she first saw it. For me, it was the film. I was really into Arthur C. Clarke and the deep thinking of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I think it was my first year university. I decided that I had to be a first year university student and really dive headfirst into everything science fiction. So I started reading Clarke. I started watching Star Trek: The Next Generation every single week, and I wanted to be the university sci-fi geek, and here I am. We talked about this earlier, how Alex North did the soundtrack to 2001. Eric, I would suggest maybe you go back to the beginning and see what we had to say about that rather than us repeat it. But we're back to you, Rob.
Back to me.
Back to you. It's hard for me to figure out which direction I'm supposed to point.
Back to me.
Back to you.
Okay, another, this time, this goes on my soundtracks list, but another video game. And in this case, it's rather unusual. This is my college years kind of thing. Maybe a little bit later. But because of my college years, I fell in love with this particular soundtrack. This is the soundtrack, and probably none of you have ever heard of this before, Wing Commander Prophecy.
No.
And it's got stuff by Cobalt 60, Rammstein, Junkie XL, KMFDM, Eskimos in Egypt, Brooklyn Bounce, Juno Reactor, and it really got me into these particular bands. It was just for me, it came out of nowhere, and I to this day, every once in a while I pop it on, and I just love it. It's fantastic. If you haven't heard it, I definitely recommend looking for it. It is a bit of a greatest hits of the individual bands, but I thought it was really good.
We have one person who's heard of it. That's good.
Awesome. All right.
Now score.
Okay, I could have chosen any of the scores from this television series, but I had to choose the second season because it had the most music in it that absolutely just blew me away. There is a particular cue called Prelude to War that if it does not get your blood going, you must be dead, because it's an amazing score. And I'm talking about Bear McCreary's Battlestar Galactica Season 2.
Cool.
And again, I could have chosen any season, even the movies, the TV movies like Razor or the Plan or anything like that. But Season 2 really jumps out at me. Bear McCreary he most recently did like the new Child's Play. He also did Godzilla King of the Monsters. Both were excellent scores. But to see him at his best on TV, to listen to this score, to listen to any of his TV scores for Battlestar Galactica is a joy to listen to. And I mean, I'm talking stuff that will just rip your heart out, and stuff that will just like, it's fuck yeah, let's go.
You know what, Rob? Arguably also the best season of the show.
Yes.
Arguably. I mean, season 3 was great. We won't talk about season 4. And Eric commented that he really likes the action music from Battlestar. What can you say? There's nothing you can say about anything Bear McCreary did for Battlestar that would be negative, in my opinion.
I am so glad, because I got in at the bottom floor with Bear McCreary. He was just coming on to the series when I started to interview him. And so I did like 5-6 interviews with the guy over the period of the 4 seasons of the show. And so to get him at the beginning and to see where he is now doing stuff like Outlander.
Yeah.
Godzilla and all of this stuff. He is the man has a brilliant career ahead of him. And
he's had a brilliant career, and he's got more ahead of him.
Exactly. Definitely.
All I will add to this is if there was a battle royale between Bear Grylls, Bear McCreary, and Yogi Bear, Bear McCreary. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
So we're back to Aaron, and now we're going to do his soundtracks. And he also did an honorable mention here. So I'm going to read his honorable mention and his number 5. He's got lots of honorable mentions. Okay, so I'll just rattle them off. Reservoir Dogs, Hardcore Logo, Oh Brother,
yep,
Baby Driver, Romeo and Juliet, American Hardcore, Top Gun, Footloose. So those are his honorable mentions for soundtracks. His number 5 is one that, damn it, could have made my list. The Commitments.
Yes.
Classic film with a lot of heart. The soundtrack is chock full of really fun versions of old standards, essential. And, I was skeptical when that movie was released. I was like, who wants to hear actors doing these songs? But I was wrong. I was totally wrong. It's a brilliant soundtrack.
That's a great testament to the late Alan Parker, who directed the film.
Yeah.
It was a really good movie. I mean, this guy, I think Alan Parker did Pink Floyd's The Wall. And
yeah, I think you're right.
And so to have him do this kind of blue collar band, up and coming from an Irish band, I thought it was brilliant, and really good, a really good soundtrack. Actually, there are 2 volumes.
Yes, there are.
But I think the first volumes, if you'll excuse the pun, speaks volumes about the film.
That one singer, the male singer, the long-haired guy, was, fresh discovery out of nowhere. That guy could sing. Incredible.
Amazing.
And that got me into that, the whole series of those Irish films, like The Van and I think, what was the other one called? It's the something else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Janes thinks that the fact that Baby Driver didn't use the Kiss song of the same name is a travesty. And Derek, his honorable mention. Oh, damn. I wish I'd thought of that one. Quick background. If you've seen Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, they did a song for that called Rip and Destroy, which is when the evil robot Kisses take over the concert and they play this song and it causes a riot. And all it is the song Hotter Than Hell with one verse rewritten and repeated over and over and over. They just repeat the same verse over and over and over again. And then instead of singing Hotter Than Hell, they sing rip, rip, rip and destroy. And, you know, they must have spent 10 seconds in the studio recording that.
I think as long as Gene Simmons is alive, we're never going to see the that set of music or that soundtrack ever see the light of day.
Which is a shame, because there's a version of Beth on there performed just with an acoustic guitar and Peter Criss, and it's, in my opinion, the best version of Beth, and you can't get it anywhere. I believe the vocal is just ripped from the album version. The acoustic guitar, I don't know who played it, but it wasn't Kiss. Back to me with another repeat from Dr. Catherine. The Empire Strikes Back. I agree with her that it's basically John Williams' greatest. I can't add anything to what's already been said about The Empire Strikes Back. I will say that the asteroid field, the asteroid field is the highlight of that album, among many highlights, many highlights. The asteroid field is really, really good. It moves you see the Falcon moving on screen, and Williams captured that movement with his music. Bam, ba-na-na, ba-na, you know?
No,
Here's something interesting. Dick Wagner from Alice Cooper's group played the acoustic guitar in that version of Beth. And Chris Sarge just shouts Beth. Yeah, so I don't have anything else to say about Empire. So you go ahead.
I totally agree with you on Empire, and who knows, it may show up.
Wouldn't that be funny?
In any case, my next soundtrack, for me is, it struck me first hearing the vocals of Tim Feehan.
Where do I know that name from?
He's a Canadian artist, and this particular, it's actually the only cassette that will appear on my list tonight, The Wraith by Wraith. This was a 1986 film that has the likes of, and I will read off some of the people: Tim Feehan, Honeymoon Suite, Stan Bush. Yes, that Stan Bush.
Transformers.
Yes. Jill Michaels. Ozzy Osbourne does a version of Secret Loser.
Yeah, that's from the Ultimate Sin album.
Lion does a song called Surrender. And Bonnie Tyler even does a song off of this one. This particular soundtrack has stuck with me over the years. I wish I still had a cassette machine that would play it. The only thing I've got is this, which I have to use to transfer the tape onto to MP3s.
Yeah.
But I don't have a deck anymore. So there's that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's probably the coolest thing we've seen tonight. The first cassette.
So, but yeah, if you haven't seen the Wraith film, check it out. It's Charlie Sheen, the Howard brother that Clint Howard is in the.
I call him Ron Howard's uglier younger brother.
So
it's unfortunate. I'm sorry, Clint.
It's actually a pretty decent movie, from as revenge stories go. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Remember when? Oh my God, that's a huge bug on my. Holy crap! Remember when Clint Howard was in Star Trek?
Yes.
And I can't remember his character's name off the top of my head, but I remember he had this orange drink called Tranya. And my sister and I, anytime we poured ourselves a glass of orange juice, it would be like, hey, let's drink the Tranya. Jesus, that is a huge bug.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This light is attracting bugs.
Okay. So.
Okay. Yes. Score.
Again, should come as no shock to anyone. When I first heard this score back in I actually first heard the score in the film, loved it, but was a few years later before I finally actually got it on CD, and that is this Star Trek II.
Yes!
Wrath of Khan. This was the score that, like Star Wars, you listen to it and you can see the film in your head.
Yes. I 100% wholeheartedly endorse this pick.
an amazing feel to it. Battle in the Mutara Nebula is a cue that I will use to introduce anyone to film music, and I love it. This score is one of my favorites, but not my. Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're getting
So back to Aaron.
Yeah.
Also, Chris Sarr thinks that I should eat the bug, but as you know, we've already established that James Kalin will pay me $7 to eat a worm. So, got up your game, buddy. Here's another great one, and nobody's picked it yet. Aaron's number 4 soundtrack is Singles.
Oh,
Perfect grunge soundtrack. I saw the film again recently, and well, the soundtrack is great. That Alice in Chains song "Wood" is maybe their best track that they've ever recorded, and Pearl Jam had "State of Love and Trust" on that thing. It's a great soundtrack. Good one, Aaron. And mine, I'm afraid that I might be screwing some stuff up here, and I might have. Anyway, we'll just continue. Eric asked me earlier about This Is Spinal Tap. So here's This Is Spinal Tap. I absolutely had to put it on there. It's one of the most brilliant original rock soundtracks I've ever heard. It's incredible to me that 3 actors played all, not all the instruments. They had a drummer and a keyboard player, but the 3 actors played the main lead instruments, sang all the vocals. Rob Reiner has a writing credit on all the songs, but I that was probably more in terms of lyrical content, I think, because the other 3 guys from Spinal Tap have since made more albums without Rob Reiner's involvement. Big Bottom, Sex Farm, Heavy Duty, Rock and Roll Creation, Cups and Cakes, Give Me Some Money, Listen to the Flower People, Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight,
yeah.
And of course Stonehenge. I remember in my OAC year, unfortunately, Rob, you were not there to witness this, but it was my OAC year, and a couple of guys in my class said, we're going to do Spinal Tap Stonehenge this year. And do you remember there was either a math or a science teacher that played banjo? Do you remember that guy?
Was it Mr. Newton?
Newton. They had him come out in Lederhosen with a banjo during the mandolin solo.
Oh, God, that would have been amazing.
There might be a picture of it in one of the yearbooks, but I don't have that yearbook. But yeah, This Is Spinal Tap. And for Eric, for years, I had no idea that without the Ruddles, there would be no tap. And I guess that is true. Both of them originated on Saturday Night Live. That's a good observation, Eric. And that being me done, we're back to you.
All right. Well, again, should come as no shock. The year is 1986.
Transformers?
There's an animated film that comes out.
I'm sorry, I blew it.
Yes. Transformers the movie.
Oh, that's the reissued soundtrack with the bonus tracks.
But if I am not mistaken, where is it?
You don't want to know how much that thing costs, Rob.
Well, I actually got this one right here. This one here in the long box. So yeah, and I still have the long box. I was going to bring it on, but it's buried and packed away. But yeah, these are the 2 versions. This just has a little bit more extra score on it. And
that's the version I wanted.
Yeah, this is the one. I ended up buying 2 copies. One for my nephew, who was huge into Transformers, and one for myself. And then I ended up finding this years later.
If Deke is watching, of course, we all know that the Transformers soundtrack has Kick-Axe.
It does?
Deke, one of Deke's favorite bands, Kick-Axe, except they were under the name Spectre General.
Yes. Now, there's something interesting that kind of also leads from the Wraith, is that Bush, Lion are both on this soundtrack.
That's right, they are. Yeah, Lion. Yeah, you're right.
Only ever heard of Lion from the Wraith soundtrack and from the Transformers soundtrack.
Eric Woods comments on the single soundtrack that it introduced him to Mother Love Bone's Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns. I think it introduced a lot of people to Mother Love Bone.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, kudos. Almost made my list, but there was too much cheesy stuff on there that I didn't like, so I couldn't. And Derek is watching, so he's happy to see Kick-Axe. Derek, be honest with me. Did you think Kick-Axe was going to show up tonight? I don't think so. All right, Rob, we're up to your score.
Yeah, my score. Okay, give me 1 second here because I don't think I pulled it from my. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, I will entertain the folks that missed the opening of the show. We did an unpackaging. Jen picked this up for me at the mall today. It's an Iron Maiden Eddie, a Power Slave Eddie figure, and I'm going to open this. It's pretty cool. I think this is like maybe a 7 or 8 inch figure. It's definitely bigger than a 6 inch. Deke was not expecting Kick-Axe to show up tonight, but they did. And the other thing that Jen picked up for me today, Metallica S&M 2. I'm excited to hear this. I was initially skeptical because Michael Kamen did the original S&M, and he's no longer with us. So I'm looking forward to hearing that this weekend. And Rob is back.
I have returned. And with my number 3 soundtrack, year's 1992. And quite a watershed year for me, as most of my love of soundtracks, a lot of the soundtracks that I love come from that year, but this particular soundtrack jumps off the page every time I hear it, and that's Vangelis's 1492 Conquest of Paradise.
Cool.
Absolutely wonderful album. If you listen to it, you can actually hear the crashing waves that come from when the bow of the boat lifts up. It's an amazing score. Kind of cut up and moved throughout the movie, but that's not unusual for a Ridley Scott film. But the score on album, amazing.
Really cool. That's a cool pick. I was wondering if we were going to see him tonight.
Had the list been bigger, there would have been a lot more.
Yeah. All right, back to Aaron. He's got a very simple comment here. Pulp Fiction. He says, I mean, come on. Awesome. Pulp Fiction were briefly on my list. I took it off my list because I don't own the full soundtrack. I only own the single by Urge Overkill.
Okay.
So good one, Aaron. I have definitely screwed up my list somehow because I've got 4 left to read. Let me see how many I wrote down. 12. All right, I know which one I'm taking off because it's a repeat of one. Oh, no, I don't have any more repeats. You know what? Shit, I'm going to read all 12. I'm going to read two now because you've already mentioned Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. That is on my list as well for the exact same reasons. Another one that I had on my list is John Barry, Zulu.
Ah, okay.
I love that soundtrack. It has really dramatic battle music. When I hear the swell of the music, I can picture the color sergeant with his bayonet stabbing Zulus. Just what an incredible film that is. Just an incredible film, and Michael Caine's first, or one of his first at least.
I think so. Yeah.
And we have a question for Rob.
Oh.
Have you ever seen The Forbidden Zone?
I have. I do not own the Oingo Boingo score or Danny Elfman. He's part of that band. I have seen it on vinyl, and I would love to find it on CD.
Cool. Boy, I've really screwed up my list. But now that I've read Star Trek II and Zulu, we are back to you.
Back to me. Okay, for soundtrack-wise, again, no shock. The year is 1986. And there is another film, and all I can say is there can be only one.
Here we are.
This is actually a kind of magic album by Queen.
Yeah.
Which features a majority of songs that appeared in the Highlander soundtrack.
Yeah, it counts. There
has been a very small release of the score.
Yes, I remember it.
It actually has 3 of the films on it, but never a full release. And these songs that are on here are close, but not quite the same as the ones from the movie, and that's the one I am waiting for. But I'm not sure if we're ever going to see Freddie Mercury's wonderful version of New York, New York. Well, we don't know. Now there is one song on here that actually showed up in Iron Eagle. It's called One Vision.
Oh, yeah.
But other than that, I think most of the others are from Highlander.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, Rob, if you remember from back in the day when Classic Queen came out, they included the artwork for all the singles that were on that album, and the Highlander singles all had Highlander artwork on them. I remember One Year of Love had, oh God, what's his face? Who's the star?
Christopher Lambert.
Yeah, Lambert. It had his picture on the front cover. I believe the long-haired Lambert. That's a great pick, Rob.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, let's see, did I screw up my list? I did actually.
Yes, it's not just me.
I screwed up my list, but this does not take away from it. My number 3 on this soundtrack list, because I'm moving it up, should come as a shock to no one. And a huge thank you to Eric Woods. For my 1000th program, he was gracious enough to gift me with this. This is the Gatefold Star Wars original.
A New Hope.
I made a reference to the fact that I did not have it. I was not expecting this, but for my 1000th program, he graciously gifted me with this. Now, all this being said, and everybody has been talking about the John Williams and the Star Wars soundtracks, this could have been The Empire Strikes Back. This very easily could have been Jedi. This very easily could have been I would even say Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, Shadows of the Empire, any of those. But this is the one that I heard first, and is the one that sticks with me always.
Fantastic. And of course, Aaron had that on his list too. I want to say one thing, because I think this is important.
Okay.
For Catherine and I remember we did not have that. We had the story of Star Wars.
Yes.
The first actual soundtrack that I got was Empire. So I wonder, if our list might have been different if I had the soundtrack for A New Hope rather than the story of. We'll never know. We'll never know.
Never know.
Well, fantastic.
I could have also put on the Miko version of but decided not to, because actually that was the very first Star Wars album I ever got.
Oh, were you disappointed?
No, actually, it's a fun album.
That's the one with Bon Jovi.
That is no. That's
that's Christmas in the Stars. Yes, I've made that mistake before.
Yeah. So this is actually an album, Star Wars and Other Galactic Funk.
Right.
It is a joy to listen to, even as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid. To behold. Wonderful soundtrack album.
I remember our neighbors had it, and we were over at their house. They're like, "Do you want to hear Star Wars?" And we're like, "Yeah!" And they put that on, and I was just like, "This isn't Star Wars. This isn't Star Wars." I was so mad, so mad. I'm going to go on to Aaron's number 2. We're at the number 2 spot.
Number 2.
Good one. My name's Forrest Gump. Man, that was a huge soundtrack when I was my first year at the record store, and it was a double, and it sold as if it was a regularly priced single, because that's how frequently I was ringing those things in. I remember one older gentleman came in, and he's like, "I'm looking for Gumbo, Forrest Gumbo," and so I showed him the CD, and he was like, "Oh, $44. That you can't be serious with that, young fella." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what it costs." "Well, somebody's getting fat off that gumbo, I'll tell you." Aaron comments, rarely does a film use music to match scenes so perfectly. This one completely nailed it. Yep.
I would totally agree.
One of the songs that really strikes me from that movie is "Against the Wind" by Bob Seger. Really, of all those songs, that's the one that really jumps out at me. Good pick, Aaron. My number 2, Raiders of the Lost Ark, John Williams. I believe that's the only time it's appeared so far.
Mhm.
I mean, you picked, or was it you who picked Last Crusade, or was it Aaron?
It was Aaron who picked.
Aaron picked Last Crusade. A great choice. I just decided to go with the original because it was the original. It's the album that I owned as a kid on LP, and it was only a single disc, which was unfortunate. But I remember loving it, and I believe that was one where I also had 2 records. I had the soundtrack and I had the dialogue version.
Right.
It wasn't a story of, because there was no narration. It was strictly just dialogue. It was interesting. Yeah, so that's my number 2.
All
And back to you.
To me, okay. My number 2 has been mentioned a couple of times,
Oh,
but has not actually. I don't think it's made it to maybe one list. I'm not sure, but I wrote something down for this one because I didn't want to forget it, and I will simply say this: it is rare that I walk out of a theater wanting a soundtrack as much as I wanted this one. The album has so many great traditional songs that it's hard not to sing along. It made a song from 1928 hugely popular. This album is highly listenable with outstanding songs. And I mean, like I said, it's been mentioned before. I mentioned it once. It's "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
yeah.
And for me, it was my friend Scott and I. We went to see the movie, and we were absolutely hooked from the moment we heard "Man of Constant Sorrow." And it was just, for me, yes, I agree. There are. Do we need 4 versions of it? I don't think so. But there are huge amounts of fantastic stuff here. You mentioned Down to the River to Pray by Alison Krauss. Of course, there's The Man of Constant Sorrow by the Soggy Bottom Boys, both versions. Oh Death by Ralph Stanley. In the Jailhouse Now.
Oh, with Tim Blake Nelson singing.
Yes.
Forgot about that one. Yeah.
The Ramblin' Bob. Anyway, you don't need to hear me sing about that. I thought this was an amazing soundtrack. It actually, one of my best of the year shows. It was actually number 2. So
Fantastic.
that in there.
You brought back a memory. When my grandma was well enough to come up to the lake, we would play that one in the car, and she really loved "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine."
Yep. It is a good listening album. The movie's a bit of a watch if you're not used to, or if you don't understand. It's like the story of the Odyssey,
Right.
and that sort of thing. But yeah, I like the film. It's one of the Coen brothers films that I actually really do enjoy, next to maybe like The Big Lebowski or something like that. But yeah, or even like just recently I saw True Grit, an amazing film. If you haven't,
I just saw that recently.
and I was just blown away at just how good it was.
Yeah.
But my score, my number 2 score, again, if Eric is still listening, it should come as no surprise to him. Another Jerry Goldsmith score, this one again from 1992, Medicine Man.
I've heard you guys talking about this one a lot.
I love this score
I've only seen it once.
From the opening strains to the final cut called A Meal in a Bath. It is a score that I constantly listen to and go to for inspiration. I've used it as a temp track for a movie trailer, or a television trailer that I was working on, and I was absolutely amazed. And a little side note here: this was the score that both Dorothea and I bonded.
Oh, nice.
She loved it. I brought it. I mentioned it. I said that it's one of my favorite scores of all time. She says, "I love it too. Can you make me a copy?" And it was that moment when it was kind of like, okay. So I ended up buying her a copy
Aw.
of the score and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's, to me, this means more to me than just being number 2. It is an amazing score, and I love it.
I don't know if you saw Eric's comment, but he's shocked.
I know, and
I guess we'll get there.
you get there, you'll be shocked as maybe not shocked, but just kind of surprised as well. Anyway, go ahead.
That's fantastic. Like I said, I've only seen the movie once, so I don't really have any strong memories of the score. But you guys keep talking about it. I've heard you guys talking about that more than once. And all I can really think of is Sean Connery being like, it's the plague of the 20th century or whatever. He discovered the cure for cancer, and you're burning the cure for the plague of the 21st century.
I've lost it, like your car keys.
Connery's been on a couple times now. This is great.
Exactly.
The movie is iffy, but the trees, swoon.
Exactly. Beautiful stuff off of that soundtrack. I love it.
We're going to go with Aaron's number. We're at number 1. Aaron's number 1. Danny Elfman, Batman. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, I read the wrong part. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. She's the one.
Ah.
I love that. I like it too. Aaron says, from probably my favorite period of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and one of my 2 favorite albums by him, Sheer Genius. Too bad the movie was pretty shite because the music is brilliant. I can't remember the guy who made that movie, but obviously he had more success with the Brothers McMullen.
Yeah.
And She's the One came out next, and that one was very got a lot of attention because Jennifer Aniston was in it. And his career hasn't really done much since. Special mention to Less Than Zero for featuring a co-write between Roy Orbison and Glenn Danzig. That's a good point. And now we're at my number 1. I'm sad. But I saved this one for last because it's different, and it goes back to our very start here where you were talking about the spaces between on the Planet of the Apes soundtrack. I chose Lalo Schifrin, THX 1138.
Awesome. Wow.
It's so different. It's so different.
Right.
I when I first saw the movie, I likened it to the music is the dialogue and the dialogue is the music almost. It's so strange that movie. The music really speaks. It's really almost like a narration. And it's so different. I think THX 1138 is a completely underrated film. I understand that it's we have a comment here. I don't know what Deke's is everybody seeing us okay?
I am.
Well, Eric is seeing us okay.
It seems to be a problem. It says there seems to be a problem with the Bewitched portrait. Hang on.
I noticed our viewers fell in half there.
Hang on.
Oh, Eric Litwiller says we're fine.
Okay, I can.
Maybe it's a limited amount of viewers having an issue. I don't know.
Anyway.
Oh, the guy that made She's the One was in Saving Private Ryan, so that's something, right? Yes, but was that before or after She's the One? I think it was before. And it's all good on Eric Woods' end too. So we'll. Yeah, I'm done. I can't believe I'm done. Back to you, Rob, with your 2 number 1s.
Okay. Well, actually, you're right. 2 number 1s here. In a lot of cases, I was very torn as to what I wanted to put at number 1 on this particular with just the soundtracks. But then I thought of something that we had done a long time ago, and we kind of mentioned this album a few times, but I originally I won this particular soundtrack in an auction and was absolutely enthralled with it from the moment I heard it, and I love it. It's a fantastic album, and I'm going to go with Jeff Lynne's War of the Worlds.
Damn you! You know what, Rob? I disqualified that one because I wasn't considering it a soundtrack.
I consider it a soundtrack, and I will put what I said about it. I do classify this as a soundtrack, as the music was featured in a video game and some animated shorts. The music on this album is solid all the way through, and the vocal performances are amazing.
Yes, they are. I'm jealous that I'm glad it's being represented, but it could have been my number one easily. I only discovered it a couple of years ago, thanks to you guys, and I'm in love with that soundtrack. Kudos, Rob. Brilliant choice. And of course, for Deke, Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy represent. He plays the parson.
Yep.
And Eric Woods. He experienced with you in the studio for the first time.
We had a full house that night with Jason Drury. Okay, it says YouTube is fine. Okay.
But yet we're getting comments from Eric and Chris.
Yeah, I noticed that the Facebook feed is actually it says that the feed is anyway, doesn't matter. We're still so we're good. I'm happy with the fact that we're on YouTube.
It's probably I've got the feed going through Michael Ladano and I've got it going through LeBrain, so maybe one of the two is down, but I don't know which one.
Okay, now I am going to do that to present my number one score in just a second, but there are a couple of honorable mentions I do have to mention, because if I didn't mention them, it would bother me. First of all,
okay,
I don't have it handy, but Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring by Howard Shore. Amazing score. I had a chance to interview the man years ago. He was great to talk to. Had the list been larger, I would have expanded it into the Lord of the Rings scores, definitely. Something else as well, I'm just going to grab off my shelf here because it's very handy, is John Ottman's X2.
Oh, nice.
Amazing stuff. I love the score. I originally had the one disc album. Fantastic stuff. And finally, somebody mentioned no Ennio Morricone. I do have to admit, I do love John Carpenter's The Thing, and will continue to, again, love it long beyond, because the remastered version, which is what this is an incredible listen. They've really done a really good job bringing the creepiness out of it. All right. Number one of my scores. And again, had this been, this had shifted positions several times on my list. But when I think about listening to the score and hearing it for the first time and rewatching the film and really getting a feel for it, and realizing that this film was kind of a reintroduction of these characters that we hadn't seen in almost 10 years. And of course, things are going to be clunky and that sort of thing. I know I've had Jerry Goldsmith on my list 3 times, but I have to have Star Trek as my number one, because the score is amazing, especially.
Yes, it is.
Not the version. This is the Columbia version. But the La La Land 3-disc version remastered, oh my God, the sound is incredible.
What is this 3-disc stuff you're talking about? I just got this for Christmas and it only had 2 discs, I think.
There is the La La Land version has 3 discs.
I got to rebuy it?
Because it has 3 discs. It better have 3 discs, because
I don't know, Rob. I think mine only has 1 or 2, and I thought I bought the best version that was out there. Oh, I just got a message here. We're having trouble streaming to Facebook. It may be an issue on Facebook's end.
Oh.
Is it possible the stream was ended or deleted on Facebook? We'll keep trying and let you know. It's just an automated message, but it looks like it's the LeBrain Facebook page. The Michael Ladano one appears fine. Okay, so Eric clarifies, I have the 20th anniversary version of that soundtrack.
Okay, yeah, there are several versions of it. I mean, I could grab you the 20th anniversary.
That's the one I have.
The one with the holographic cover in the little cardboard sleeve.
Mine did not come with a cardboard sleeve. It was just the jewel case. Oh. But it is the 20th anniversary 2-disc. I'm certain.
I also did get that version from the record store. So. So yeah, but yeah, the 3-disc La La Land version. Oh my God, the sound quality is amazing. And again, recent events, having seen the film again, the director's cut, watching a version or watching a review from the Red Letter Media guys.
Yep, I saw that.
And just all these different things came together, and I've really appreciate and love the Star Trek: The Motion Picture score. Oh, it's out of print on La La Land, which
means I'm going to have to go eBay or Discogs.
Yeah,
and pay through the nose.
I am when it comes back, which it probably will on La La Land because it sells out every time it comes back. I'm going to get myself a copy of that because it to me is the 3-disc, and I mean I have a digital copy, but it's not the same if you don't have the physical copy. And you Mike have taught me that the physical copy is usually the way to go.
It's important. It's important. I am just going to, if you bear with me just a second here before we do anything else, I just want to see if I can get the LeBrain Facebook page back running. But no, I don't think it's clearly an issue on Facebook's side. But oh well, we lost half of our viewers. But that was a great ending, Rob. I mean, not only did you pick a soundtrack that I wished I picked, but I chose Wrath of Khan instead. You picked a version that I've never heard of, so you win.
Well, it's for me. Everybody who's seen the show tonight wins, in my case, because all of the music that we presented here tonight is awesome and amazing.
Yeah,
and it should not be. And I mean, had I written this list, I was revising it this morning, you know, to remember certain things. And then people would remind me of, oh yeah, there's this. Oh, and yeah, I could have added this here. And so yeah, for me, it is one of my loves that I am so happy to bring to people. And I'm glad that people also respond to soundtracks as well. And for me, it doesn't matter if it's the soundtrack or whether it's the score. For me, it's just great to have that music, first of all, accessible to everyone, and having people love it for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I mean, stuff like Transformers, stuff like Highlander and Star Trek. I mean, I could have done a whole list with just Star Trek scores. I could have done a whole list with just Star Wars scores. I could have done a whole list with just fantasy scores, film noir scores, action scores. I mean, Terminator 2 doesn't appear on here, and it should.
True.
But I represented that with the original Terminator. So that's kind of how I approach this. But yeah, for me, I mean, I there is so many great albums that I'm like. I mean, my collection is like, you can't see it, but it's right behind the camera, some of it, and I'm just looking at all the stuff that I missed.
Yeah.
Going, I could have added that, and I could have added this, and I could have added Twilight Zone, and I could have added like 28 Weeks Later, or something from like Tourist Trap, or Tora Tora Tora, or The Matrix, or something like that. So yeah, for me, if you told me to pull together this list next week, it would be a completely different list.
I think we should do a Williams list show at some point in the future. I think that would be fun and a challenge. I'm going to say one of my honorable mentions that didn't get picked by anybody, Big Lebowski.
Well, yeah, Big Lebowski. I actually did a anniversary show for Big Lebowski.
I was there for that one.
Yes, you were, which was very much appreciated. And it's one of those films that actually the soundtrack is very eclectic, but at the same time is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff. I mean, I had never heard of Kenny Rogers. That just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in, and for me, it was just like, wow. I mean, very much like the Quentin Tarantino. Where he chooses, like, I could have put Kill Bill on here because there's some great stuff.
Yeah.
And but again, it just didn't quite make the list. It probably would have been like 12, 13, somewhere down the line. But yeah, I agree with Chris. Save it for another soundtrack show. I totally agree, because there's stuff on here, like I said, that I'm just looking at right now that's in my collection. And I went, oh man, I should have added that, or I could have added that.
Looks like we got Eric Woods on. I mean, we can talk him into co-hosting for a Williams-based show. That would be cool.
I think that would be awesome. Because one of the soundtracks that did not make my list, but very easily could have, is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep.
It did not make my list, and I thought about it, and I kept saying to myself, okay, Star Wars I know is going to be on the list for sure, but I also wanted to make sure that it was as diverse as possible. Again, I absolutely loved having vinyl to do.
Yeah.
And that stuff. I mean, I have vinyl back here as well that very easily could have made the list. So there's for me to just be able to do this, to be able to talk about even before the show, to talk about the stuff that I love. And I mean, again, listen tonight as we're going with the Hunt for Red October.
Yep.
Very easily could have made the list, but didn't, because there was so many other good stuff that that was very hard. It was very hard to pare it down to 11.
Yeah.
Even then, I was like, oh, man, there's so much other stuff I could have put on here.
I wish I picked Jeff Wayne, so I'm glad you did. Chris Sarr wants to know if you own any 8-tracks. That's a good question.
One 8-track, and that is the I think, and I have to look for it. I don't have it handy.
CD.
Yeah, CD is Empire Strikes Back.
Cool.
Packed away, unfortunately.
Of course, because it's not something you're going to be playing.
Well, I don't. The only thing I have is the capacity to play CDs and media files right now. I don't have a tape deck, nor do I have a record player. That is going to change.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I don't have those things.
You have them at the station, though, right?
Yes, we have both of those at the station.
You can convert your stuff at work if you need to, I guess.
Yeah, if I need to, yes.
Led Zeppelin, the song remains the same, didn't make anybody's list, although I can understand why. It's definitely not their best live album. Stuart Copeland, Rumblefish.
Yes.
That's a good mention.
Good mention. Something that I have in my list, or something I have in my collection, but it just just wasn't on my radar for setting up this list.
Stuart Copeland's done a few soundtracks, I believe, over the years. He didn't make any of our lists.
He actually did. He actually did the score for Highlander 2.
No.
Copeland did. Yes, he did.
No kidding. Huh. Wow. There's another one I was thinking didn't make any of our list tonight. Guns N' Roses, Terminator 1, not Terminator 2. No End of Days. No Big Daddy. Nothing. What was it called? The Deadpool?
Yes.
Dirty Harry, the Deadpool. None of that. So no Guns N' Roses.
Well, I mean, I could have done, You Could Be Mine. I have the...
Yeah. I got the single.
Actually, I do too. But something what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and after the whole thing was done, I went through my stuff, and sure enough, I don't know if you can see this. This is
Coneheads.
But take a look. It's the Fight the Power by the Bare Naked Ladies. This is
very rare.
This is a single.
Yeah, that is rare. That is a rarity.
Yeah. Actually, Dorothea found that for me.
Wow.
So
Chris Sarr is saying that we did a great show. I think he really wants to see the doc back. I don't know, man. It took a lot of arm twisting. Basically, I've been doing this for 6 months. It took 6 months of arm twisting. Oh, yeah. Eric Woods. There you go.
Right. And again, another score by Elliot Goldenthal that I could have added to the list. Fantastic stuff. Alien 3 is not on. could have very easily been on the list. Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, is another awesome score by him that could have been on the list.
Yeah.
Stuff like again, the X-Men scores, Wonder Woman. Just like I said, just looking here, stuff that I've got. War Games could have made it to the list very easily.
I was almost half expecting you to do a season of either Star Trek or TNG for your soundtracks.
Again, I very easily could have done it. In fact, on the very short list that I had, Star Trek, The Next Generation, Best of Both Worlds soundtrack.
Yep.
Very easily made it to the list. No Conan was mentioned, though. I will admit that, again, on the short list, Conan was there.
Decline of Western Civilization Part 2 would have put, I think Poison might have been on that album. I know there was like a thing with Ricky Rocket of Poison, but it would have put Queensryche, it would have put Megadeth, would have put some of those bands on our lists.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, I'm going to wind this up because, quite frankly, I'm cold. This is probably the final outdoor show of the year.
I would give you my hoodie if I could through the camera, sir.
Eric Woods missed the first part of the show, so he missed that. I packed my Visions and Sound hoodie, but it is not with me. I think I wore it last night and forgot to repack it. Oh, this would have been, you know what? We really need to do another soundtrack show. We need to do the ones we left behind.
Yep. No, I agree. There are so many that I'm just, like I said, I'm just looking at now, and these are like the T's through the Z's, and there's stuff in here that I would want to put in that the stuff we left behind kind of stuff.
Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll in the future do a second show. We'll get lists from some different people like Jane's. We'll get Eric Woods to co-host, and maybe we'll have a rule that you can't repeat anything that you had in your first two lists.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I think we have a tentative plan.
Works for me.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for doing this. You've got your own show to prepare for tonight.
I'm much already. It's just a matter of getting there and doing the show. And
probably having a coffee or two.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Rob, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. And I probably still will be up when Visions and Sound hits the airwaves on CKWR. Everybody check it out. So I will, I'll talk to you then in a couple of hours.
Buy my shirts.
Buy his shirts or his masks.
Yes, I have masks.
Look at this. One more comment before we go. What a jerk. No more comments about my sister, guys. She'll never appear again. You realize that. You've scared her away. Well done. Okay. Well, Rob, thank you so much. You have a good show tonight, and I will talk to you in a couple of hours. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you.
Yep.
Take care. Good night.
Good night.